Near 57. Tonight, a chance for rain with a low around 53, and Thursday cloudy with a high around 70. The Great Wall Restaurant serves up bold, authentic Chinese flavors. From hot and sour soup to Peking duck, their Szechuan and Mandarin menu is packed with favorites. Visit them at 4515 France Avenue South or at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. Joined in studio today, back, Jim Pounds. Welcome back from your travels.
Thank you. Hey, all. Hey, Chicago.
You were up north in northern Minnesota as part of the Remember Project.
Yeah, this is something I've been doing for 10 years, dealing with dementia and memory loss. Alzheimer's is what everybody thinks of, but of course, memory loss and dementia are much more complicated than that one particular disease. And this is a short play, a 20-minute play that shows a married couple dealing with this issue over a 1-year period, and then it folds into an hour-and-a-half conversation, and that's really where the value is, where people can talk about their feelings, about what they've seen, about these characters they've met, about their own lives and the things they've experienced, the things that they don't understand, resources that they need. So for all of us who don't want to think about this or take action or make a plan, this is an opportunity to do that and to talk to professionals that'll help you make a plan and help you find out what your loved ones' desires are while you still can have that conversation. And so it's really great to go to a place like Park Rapids, and they have great memory care. It's a very dementia-friendly community. So we do this play, and yet there's always people who say, wow, I learned something. Now I know who to call. Now I know what I need to do in my own family. Now I've heard how other people have navigated this experience. So it's very fulfilling work, I'll say.
Sounds like it. And you'll be off to Michigan next week, so I'll have to be solo on the show once more.
Yeah,
but I do want to let folks... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if people are disappointed or thrilled that I'm not there, you can send a message to the Gailey Show and let us know whether the show is better with me.
We'll do a poll.
Worse. Yeah,
we'll do a poll. Well, in the second half hour, so in just under 30 minutes, we're going to have Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. He'll be joining us for an interview about LGBTQ issues. We are the only outlet on the radio that is covering the LGBTQ, the queer angle to the Minneapolis mayoral race. So we are inviting candidates to join us to talk live about the variety of issues, questions that we have for them about the queer element to this race. So we will have Dr. Davis joining us at 2:30 p.m. There are a couple of stories, though, that I wanted to get into before them. Both of them having to deal with Republicans. So the first one, which was the one that kind of gave me a pause, is there is a new poll out conducted by YouGov and The Economist. So two pretty reputable folks that are doing a poll. And this poll is asking about conversion therapy. Now, conversion therapy is a discredited practice. It is not recommended. Any medical association that licenses folks will say, please do not practice conversion therapy, because it's based off of the wrong idea that you can change someone's sexual orientation, that you can change someone's gender identity. And what ends up happening for kids, particularly who are forced to go through conversion therapy, is that they're being told that their parents want them to change, that God wants them to change. But as they're going along in the therapy, those outcomes don't happen because you can't change someone's sexuality or gender identity. Right. So what ends up happening is that you create an anxiety disorder with the patient. You create a depression disorder with the patient. You can create, in worst cases, the more extreme cases, suicidal ideation. And there are documented way too many documented cases where a patient has taken their life, both kids and adults. Well, the Supreme Court last week was like, hey, what's wrong with this? Like, absolutely, this is a free speech issue. This isn't a medical issue.
Right.
So, and there are people who are submitting bad data to the Alliance Defending Freedom. Just found this out. They were submitting as part of their amicus briefs, and their data to the court gave them bad data, wrong data. They lied to the Supreme Court on this issue of conversion therapy. But the justices, they're all for Christian nationalism at this point, and they're basically saying that therapy isn't about medical data, it isn't about medical practices, it's about free speech. And this Christian therapist in Colorado because it's talk therapy, has the free speech to talk about conversion therapy and to practice conversion therapy on her children patients. And there are 23, 24, 25 states in the United States that ban this as a practice, because the data very clearly over multiple decades shows that you cannot change someone's sexuality or gender identity. So there's that. Here comes this poll by YouGov and The Economist. 59% of Americans support conversion therapy bans, according to this poll. The survey was conducted October 10th through the 13th, and it specifically asked U.S. adults about conversion therapy, so changing a person's sexual orientation from gay to straight. And only 20% of respondents said they oppose conversion therapy bans, right? So majorities of Republicans, 60%, Democrats 59%, Independents 57%, all supported the bans. Interesting there. I know this is statistically the difference of 1%, but technically 1% more Republicans, the Democrats supported banning conversion therapy, and 3% more than Independents. So Republicans in this poll, again, one poll, so we got to put that out there, supported it more than any other political party in there.
It frustrates me that we keep using the word conversion therapy because that's sort of a clinical term. But if we were doing what the Republicans do, we would be calling this child torture, because that's what it is, a mental torture of children. And if we would talk about it in that way, what it actually is. In fact, there was a study done by the Trevor Project just recently. At that time, there were 19 states that allowed child torture to be done. And in each case, the percent of kids going through that torture had an increased risk or were having suicidal ideation as a result of it. So the assumption is that now that it's in something like 26 states, that it's the same, that the data would continue in the same way. So I'm going to call it child torture so that nobody can forget. We're not talking about a clinical thing. We're talking about a form of child abuse.
Now, there is one part of this poll that really depressed me. When asked, Democrats 75%, Independents 55% were much more likely to say that they don't believe conversion therapy can actually change someone's sexual orientation. Only 45% of Republicans said that. So that's weird that the majority of Republicans, Democrats, and Independents are saying, ban conversion therapy, but only 45% of Republicans said, well, that it doesn't work. And only 75% of Democrats said that it doesn't work. And only 55% of Independents said that it doesn't work. Now, I worked in LGBTQ health equity. I am a queer person who, if I would have come out as a kid, I can guarantee you that my parents would have done something along these lines to put me into something around conversion therapy. And the harm of this cannot be understated. And the fact that a Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, can justify allowing conversion therapy by saying, well, if something goes wrong, you can just have a malpractice lawsuit. Well, we know something's going to go wrong. And how does a 12-year-old do that? How does a 16-year-old sue a therapist?
Right.
You can't do it.
I think Amy's known to be a dimwit, so that actually that she would make that go ahead and do the harm, and then we'll just have a lawsuit. That kind of proves her reputation because it's terrible. It doesn't have the intellectual chops to be in the position she's in. Good Lord. And clearly no empathy and no humanity. So I don't know. Is that what we want in the Supreme Court? And we got a lot of it.
Now, interestingly, also in this poll, asked if gay people should attempt to change their sexual orientation. Okay. Only 17% of respondents said that they should change their sexual orientation.
Right.
And now I'm sitting there and going, why would you even ask that question? To even allow the idea that we would give people a say in whether or not they can change their sexual orientation boggles my mind.
Right. Who cares?
Like, you don't get to have a say in that.
No,
so why are we even asking you in a poll what you think about that? But, I'm gonna sit with the positives that 60% of Republicans supported banning conversion therapy. I'm gonna take that win and know that the Supreme Court is about to strike them all down, and that we are going to have kids who are going to be, to your point, that are going to be tortured. We are literally going to be manufacturing depression disorders, anxiety disorders, suicidal ideation on these kids.
And if there are suicides, then that is on the soul of Amy Coney Barrett and this terrible human being in Colorado. Read about her. I don't think she even has any kids. This is a real dyed-in-the-wool lunatic.
Well, what scares me about that also is that
she's amazing.
How will the parents respond to that? Because there were parents who didn't vaccinate their kids in Texas, and the kids died.
Right.
And the parents' response was, well, that must be what God wanted.
That's what God
I'm not
works in
joking.
mysterious.
AP News was reporting that.
Oh, I'm not
you
joking
can go
either.
and look that up.
50% of parents should not be parents.
You can go and look that up.
Trust me.
All right. We are going to fit in a break here, and we're going to be talking about some young Republicans when we come back. But before we go on our break, I want to talk about our travel partner, Travel Marquette. I am going to be in Marquette this weekend. It is the Fresh Coast Film Festival, and the world sucks right now, so I am so happy that I can get in a car and go up to Marquette this weekend and just take a time out to be in nature and to buy some good books and to eat some good food and to refill my cup, as it were, which I have been doing every year for the past 10 years. And if that is something that you want to do, you can reach out to me on Blue Sky or on YouTube, and I will give you recommendations of where to go and where to eat and where to buy books. So if you want to get your adventure started, go to travelmarquette.com. That's travelmarquette.com. You're listening to The Gailey Show. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Paul Sheldon. I'm a novelist. My #1 super fan, Annie Wilkes, has me trapped in her house. I need you to come to the Yellow Tree Theater in Osseo, September 26th to October 19th to get me out. YellowTreeTheater.com. It's misery. Please don't come alone. Hurry, she's coming.
Hey, it's Tom. There's a war being waged on clean energy. A bill in Congress could eliminate the 30% federal tax credit for solar by the end of 2025. And once it's gone, it may never come back. Fossil fuel giants and their MAGA friends in Washington want to kill green energy. But you can fight back. Going solar with All Energy Solar isn't just smart, it's a form of resistance. You choose where your money goes, not to utility companies, not to fossil fuel billionaires, but toward clean, renewable power for your home. A system from All Energy Solar works in Minnesota year-round because it runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the dead of winter, you're generating electricity. And All Energy Solar helps you save with every rebate and incentive available. This is the moment to act. Waiting means risking with this tax credit and giving the upper hand to MAGA Republicans. So get your free consultation today at allenergysolar.com and take back your power. Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can catch me every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's smart radio for smart people.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. The independently owned Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for your next book. The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations no matter your age or taste. Plus, they have frequent events including book readings and meet and greets with authors. And they sell more than just books. They have a wide variety of puzzles and games, too. So stop in and browse the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. I'm joined by my executive producer, Jim Pounds. At that half-hour mark, we're going to be joined by Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is running for Minneapolis mayor. We're going to continue our conversations with candidates for mayor in the lead up to the election. Another story that came across my desk this morning, came across all of our desks this morning, is new reporting from Politico, where they went through 2,900 pages of chat logs from the leaders of young Republican groups. Politico wrote, quote, "The chat offers an unfiltered look at how a new generation of GOP activists talk when they think no one is listening." They went on to say, quote, "Together, the messages reveal a culture where racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric circulate freely, and where the Trump-era loosening of political norms has made such talk feel less taboo among those positioning themselves as the party's next leader." You can imagine there was one text that said, "I love Hitler." Lots of racist text in here. Lots of use of the N-word. And according to LGBTQ Nation, slurs like the F word, derogatory term for the queer people, the R word, and the N word appeared more than 251 times in these chats.
Gives you hope for the future, doesn't it?
And they were saying, so the prime person, William Hendricks, who is the vice chair rather, of the Kansas Young Republicans, and was a communications assistant for Kansas's Republican Attorney General Chris Kobach.
Billy.
And Peter Giunta, who is the chair of the New York State Young Republicans and served as chief of staff to New York State Republican Assembly member Mike Riley. Both of them have now been fired from their jobs after the chats became public.
Yeah.
But I don't even know why they were fired.
Well,
I mean, this is but here this is what I want to say, is that one, I don't know why they were fired, because this is the way MAGA talks. I'm sorry, but the McCain Republicans are the minority in the Republican Party and have been. I grew up with all of this.
Well, so did I, and I want to say that my father was a John Bircher. So racist BS like this has, and you've said this, John, to me many times when I've talked about economic issues. You're like, that's not what they're about. What they're about is hating, deeply hating the other in all its forms. And so my father was more motivated by his racism than he was by any economic issue. No question about that. So I think it's gone on since the Civil War. These are the same people.
They can
same
sit
ideology.
there. They can sit there, the former McCain Republicans or whatever. The folks are like, I don't say the F word. I don't say the N word. I can hear the screams right now. But it motivates their entire political worldview because they're like, no, we shouldn't have Medicaid because that's going to the welfare queens, right? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Which was just their coded. They couldn't say on public television, not just PBS, but like broadcast television, what they were saying behind the scenes. They don't clearly they don't like LGBTQ people, and so they're like, there should be no government spending to support the community. The racism, the sexism, all of that. They do not believe in the government, the use of the government to try and make communities better. They see the use of the government to police queer people. They see the use of the government to police brown and black bodies. That is the role of the government. And there should be no, and they are full on board for how corporations are going to treat and exploit their workers and these communities, because corporations are fully on board with that as well in their practices. So, and I know that's a broad brush there, but when we look at, corporations that are destroying the environment or who are exploiting other countries across the globe, this is their operating modus operandi. And so I'm really shocked, actually, that they got fired.
Well, and they've always,
Trump says worse things.
They've always used religion as the weapon to, sort of corral all the ignorant people, frankly, and the sheep, literally sheep, getting them to do what they're told under the use of the cross or the use of religious BS. That's what they've used to fan all that ignorance and all that hatred. But it's not based on what I used to think the Republican Party was about, which was responsible government or efficiency in government. It was never that.
And
that
I
was
know
a pipe dream.
There may be listeners right now that are like, you're painting with a very broad brush right now.
I think,
and I will say
accurate.
my lived experience of evangelical household was very much this. I grew up with the gay people deserve HIV. I heard that on a daily basis. I grew up with the, if they get beat up or if they're killed, they deserved it. And there should be no government program. I remember these conversations so much when I'm 12 years old at the table, realizing, I might be gay, and hearing the family dinner table talking about how there should be no government support for HIV. And it's just, and we see this still happening in their leadership. And it's very depressing on the one hand, because you're like, wow, this is still happening, but it has been par for the course for.
And we have to say it is inexcusable for you to be that sort of horrific as a human being in 1920 or in 2025. It is horrific behavior.
One last thing before we're going to have to fit in a break here. So yes, we have the Young Republicans in 2,900 pages of chat logs. They're sitting there and saying, I love Hitler. There was also an Instagram video from the Border Protection Agency, so the national agency that was using Nazi imagery. And online on X, the Nazis were like, hey, look at this, a government agency using our things here. But this is the call that we need to be recognizing here, is that they are not being quiet about what they believe right now, and they are absolutely showing that they are on board with the Nazis in one way or another. And that is terrifying. I have to, when I say this as an Armenian American, as someone whose grandparents and great-grandparents survived a genocide, and not all of my family members did survive it, the things I'm hearing out of this government are things that I heard when I was growing up as well. And that really is scary. It's very, very, very scary. We have to take a break here, but we are going to continue our coverage of the Minneapolis mayoral election. Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor, will be joining us. We're going to turn this conversation, what we've been doing for the first half hour, we're going to move in a different direction. So we're going to be back with Dr. Davis when we come back. You are listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. You can keep the conversation going on our Blue Sky. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. Stay tuned.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges, we print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, and host of the Bradcast. Weeknights at...
All right, guys, you should be able to talk to each other now. Make sure we're all working here on our
Dr.
audio.
Davis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you
All
very much.
right.
We are still live on YouTube, so this is a hot mic.
Okay.
Want to let you know that. You're catching us after a very spicy editorial segment. So thank you for joining us today. We'll do an intro and then we'll get into the questions.
Okay.
If we get through all the questions in the first segment, which is 15 minutes, then, you know, it's really, I'll follow your lead and how we're managing the time. When you see me do this, that's just a visual cue for you to know that we're coming up on a commercial break, and I'll have about a minute before we have to throw to that break. It's better than me having to jump in and interrupt you.
Got you. Thank you.
All right. Any questions before we switch back over to the main feed?
No, I think I'm good to go.
All right. In the private chat, if you see that on the right-hand side of your screen, I will put in the time cues of how much time is left before we are back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll throw us back on the program feed here, guys.
Just what happened at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. Join us for Sundays Reimagined or live stream at firstunitarian.org. Looking for community without doctrine? Questions without judgment? Think outside the pew. Join us for Sundays Reimagined at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis or live stream at firstunitarian.org.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This season, bring the whole family to see Irving Berlin's White Christmas. This smash hit musical based on the classic film returns by popular demand to delight you at Chanhassen dinner theaters. With loads of laughter and a stunning showcase of Irving Berlin songs, White Christmas is a celebration of the romance, friendship, and magic of the holidays. Make your plans today to see White Christmas. Visit chanhassendt.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 57. Tonight, a chance for rain with a low around 53. And Thursday, cloudy with a high around 70. The Great Wall Restaurant serves up bold, authentic Chinese flavors. From hot and sour soup to Peking duck, their Szechuan and Mandarin menu is packed with favorites. Visit them at 4515 France Avenue South or at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. A couple weeks ago, we broadcasted live from the Home Hope Health Minneapolis Mayoral Candidate and Voter Education Forum. And then AM 950 Radio aired the full forum live, and you can watch that recording on our YouTube channel. Just search for The Gailey Show. But we here at The Gailey Show wanted to continue that coverage. So we are inviting candidates for Minneapolis mayor to join us for a conversation specific to the LGBTQ community. And we're the only ones right now doing that in the radio space. We started those interviews yesterday. And today, our guest candidate is Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis. From national policy work on healthcare and housing to HIV outreach with communities of color in Minneapolis. Dr. DeWayne Davis has devoted his life to caring for vulnerable communities. He's been a leader in the fight for racial and economic justice, serving as the co-chair of the City Community Safety Working Group and the Minnesota Poor People's Campaign. As the lead minister at Plymouth Congregational Church, he's helped build caring relationships across lines of difference, bringing people together to work for reparations and dignity for our unhoused neighbors. Dr. Davis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I am so glad I'm finally with the gay show.
We are glad to have you. So can we start by you sharing with our listeners the specific actions that you've taken in your career to support the LGBTQ community?
Oh, that is, I think that's a wonderful question. I'll start off by saying this. I met my husband in college. So we started dating when we were in college, and then we started our life together right after college. And right away, what that meant was we had to advocate for ourselves. This was in the early 90s, mid 90s. And so we had to advocate for ourselves. And so what that meant is, being out, being, going to all of the places where gay people were organizing, and that was with Capitol Pride, that was with HRC, which was headquartered in DC, that was with the task force, but also on Capitol Hill. I started working on Capitol Hill right out of college. And I was so fortunate also to have that my first chief of staff, I was working for a member of Congress, and my first chief of staff, who was openly gay, really came to me and said, you are very gifted and you're very talented. And I know that you're trying to figure out how to move and how to operate. He said, but the most important thing you have is your word. And so after that, I took on, although I had a full spate of human needs issues, I always had LGBTQ rights and justice issues in my portfolio. So I was one of those staffers on Capitol Hill working with HRC and the task force for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act from the beginning, every variation on that. Then working on HIV AIDS funding, especially the Ryan White program. I worked for nothing but appropriators, so I was always making sure that we were getting full funding for Ryan White program and housing for people with AIDS program in the Housing and Urban Development spending bills. But I'm a part of, I started going to in a Metropolitan Community Church of Washington, D.C. And if people who don't know Metropolitan Community Church, please go look it up. This was the first denomination that was organized for a ministry expressly to LGBTQ people. And that's where my work really took on a big change, because I left politics, got my divinity degree, and all because I went to that Metropolitan Community Church in Washington, D.C., and knew that this was another part of my experience that I wanted to bring. That is to fight headlong religious oppression against LGBTQ people. I got here to Minneapolis, and the first thing I started doing was fighting those bathroom bills up at the Capitol. And I was up there both doing that and also working with the AIDS service organization, including Claire Housing, Aliveness, and then Rainbow Health, and all of those for full funding for HIV.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. My next question is, in 2024, according to exit polls, 86% of LGBTQ voters cast their ballots for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. However, since November, pollsters for legacy media outlets and the Democratic Party, think tanks both on the left and the right, and a certain popular Democratic governor have called for centrists and moderates, as well as the Democratic Party, to either downplay LGBTQ rights or to stop supporting certain rights altogether. This comes at a time when the LGBTQ community is facing the Trump administration, who is banning LGBTQ school curriculum, ending educational supports for LGBTQ students, revoking federal funding to colleges who are offering pro-LGBTQ services, banning transgender service members. As mayor, how would you reconcile this argument, this fight between those who want political leaders to downplay or walk away from the LGBTQ community when the community needs the most support right now?
I will never compromise on the humanity of anybody else. Never. And it's not just because I'm a gay man, but that is my work. I will never withhold the presumption of full humanity for any person. And I will not be bullied into doing that. And I will not be extorted into doing that. So I'll start there. And this is also where I get really critical of our allies, because you cannot reside in the symbol for long. Either you mean it or you don't. And so sometimes in the history, that we've been given symbolic gestures, sometimes that work. But that also means once you take on the symbol, and it's okay to act symbolically. But one thing I invite people to do is when you embrace the symbol, then that's when your work begins. And so that means then you're going to have to figure out how to be a fully present ally, fully present in the fight, and how you're going to be. And by the way, we saw this coming when there was an opportunity to fight and to learn and to go beyond the symbol. We knew what the goal was from the beginning. That is why they were picking on our trans siblings, because they knew that they could put the thumb on the most chaotic and divisive issue and push. But see, we knew that they've done that before. I was there in 2004 when they used marriage as a way to do it. And every time we do it, we stand back and we won't fully go into it. It's time to stop that. We know that trick. And so right now, what that means is go beyond the symbol. I say that specifically, the Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Office. Everyone wants to tout that, and they say in the city, oh, we have this. But what needs to happen once you created that office is that you empower people to do real work. You give them the authority and the room to really go for it, and you stand behind it. And so even that's what I'm telling now. That office is not just going to be some symbol that I wave up and say, look what we've done. No, we're going to fully empower, engage with the communities that are impacted. I say over and over again, I've said in this campaign, not about us, without us. You meet us at the table, talking you through the things that you may not feel, the things that may not impact you because you're not with us all the time. But you need to be there to listen and go beyond the symbol.
We're talking with Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. Early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. There you can also find information on how to register to vote if you had not. Election day is November 4th. Dr. Davis, our news partner, Windy City Times, out of Chicago, has discovered that in Chicago, no major hospital provides gender-affirming care anymore to trans youth because their federal funding was threatened by the Trump administration. In Michigan, the Attorney General put hospital systems on notice, saying that the availability of federal funds from the Trump administration does not determine whether or not those healthcare providers should comply with state human rights laws. In Pennsylvania, a complaint has been filed against a healthcare system on behalf of transgender plaintiffs, saying that the hospital system has discriminated against them because they stopped providing trans care after federal funding threats from the Trump administration. As mayor, how would you support healthcare systems in the city of Minneapolis to continue providing gender-affirming healthcare and hold them accountable if they decided to stop?
Thank you, and I'm so glad you asked that question, because I've been talking with certain providers about this ever since the beginning of the year, because we knew that this threat was coming. Again, that's the thing that I want to be forward-looking. I don't shrink from what is coming. And I just want to say to that, a lot of people said I was overreacting to the election of Donald Trump in 2016. A lot of people said that I was, but I just want to point out that the reason I was, quote, overreacting is because I knew what was coming down the pike. It's been there the whole time. They've been telling us what they were going to do. So even before the inauguration at the beginning of the year, I was talking to providers about what they were going to do, what we're going to be looking at. We were looking at the state legislature to backfill some of the things that we are expecting to get cut. But I'm saying all that is that right now, one of the reasons I'm running for mayor, and it goes directly to this question, we know that Washington is no longer going to be a reliable partner with us for the things that we want to do, for the values we hold dear, the people we want to serve. And so now is a time to have leadership that is working multi-jurisdictionally, working across differences, engaging at every level with the county, with the state, and even with our delegation in the federal legislature. Really begin to think like, what can we do when and if this comes down the pike? What can we work? What kind of systems can we build? What kind of things that can we share? What kind of cross collaboration can we do? And so that means even, for instance, when we know that if the Medicaid cuts that they've been proposing go through, not just for LGBTQ people, but a bunch of very vulnerable people are going to lose their access to health care. That means that the city is going to be at the forefront of a massive loss of service. So the question is, how are we going to collaborate with the county, with the universities here, with the federally qualified health centers here, to begin to see how we can provide some support? And so as mayor, what I'll be looking for the Department of Health to be doing is to, how can we scale and build and reshape preventive care services at the lowest level? We can't afford to do what the county can do with Hennepin Health Care, but at least we can begin to put some shape around things that we can address. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not saying that we're not gonna feel it. But this is why you need to have relationships across jurisdictions. You have to build trust with people and begin to, again, empower people who are directly impacted and that are working in the city enterprise to help us imagine and plan how to respond.
I have a final question for you, but we are coming up on the break, and I don't want to have you race through it in a single in less than in 2 minutes. To take us into the break, can you share with us a little bit about why you are running for mayor?
I've done a lot of things in the city, working with previous mayors, Mayor Hodges, and then Jacob Fry. I was picked to co-chair the community safety work group that was impaneled after George Floyd was murdered, to make recommendations for police reform and public safety. And that's when I got a peek behind the curtain. But what really, in meaning that we needed new leadership, there were some things that I think I would have done differently that I saw were some concern to me. But what really made me do it was when Joe Biden did so terribly last year. And I said, we're going to need some help resisting what's coming out of Washington.
Apologize, I have to fit in that break. We're going to have more with Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis when we come back after this short break. Early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. You can also find information on how to register to vote when you're there. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
He's greedy. He's scrumptious. He's horrid. Roald Dahl's The Enormous Crocodile the Musical is on stage now through November 23rd at Children's Theater Company, featuring eye-popping puppets, a rich score.
All right, there you go. You should be available to talk now.
Dr. Davis, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike. Hi, you people on YouTube. I just have the one question left, and I'm trying to make sure that everybody has just the same questions and the same amount of time. So once you're done with that question, we can sort of wrap up and you can jump off the call, even though we'll kind of keep going into the rest of the show, if that's all right.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right. I will, and again, in the private chat, I'll put in the time key so you know how much time we have left. We've got about 2 minutes left before we come back.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Experience the unveiling of an exhibition that speaks to the heart. Learn more at allmyrelationsarts.org.
Hey, Francois, where are we going and why do you have so many canvas bags?
Salut Laura, on y va chez Nicolette's Macarons.
Oh, I've never been to Nicolette's store. They're just off Highway 169 and 36th in Plymouth.
Oui, ils ont 16 saveurs de macarons là.
They have 16 flavors of macaroons at the store. That's why you have so many canvas bags. I love how Nicolette supports small food entrepreneurs. Let's hurry. They're open afternoons, Wednesday through Friday, and midday on Saturdays.
Nicolette, c'est génial. Allons-y.
Let's go.
In 1979, Paul Metza moved from the Iron Range to Minneapolis to begin his musical life. After a decorated career, multiple albums and books, over 5,000 live shows, including appearing at Farm Aid, 8 Minnesota Music Awards, and over 11 years hosting the Wall of Power Radio Hour on AM 950, the man described as Minnesota's other great Iron Range songwriter is celebrating his 70th birthday, and you're invited. It's Songs of Resistance and Resolve, Paul Metza's 70th birthday and CD release party, Sunday, November 2nd at the Astor House in St. Anthony, Maine at 7 p.m. Paul has helped with hundreds of benefits over the years for progressive causes and people in need, and this show is a benefit for AM 950. He'll be joined by his Cats Under the Stars trio, Sonny Earl, Mary Harris, and his new Duluth-based backup singers, the Tilt Town Titanettes. Tickets start at $25, and there's a front row meet and greet option. Come early to enjoy the delicious Astor House menu, and make sure you pick up Paul's new 12-song CD. Sunday, November 2nd, it's Songs of Resistance and Resolve, Paul Metza's 70th birthday and CD release party at Astor House in St. Anthony, Maine. Tickets are available at astorhousempls.com.
Hey friends, this is John Parker from The Gailey Show. When I travel, I want to go somewhere where I can unwind, get back to nature, like with waterfalls and hiking, enjoy some classic downtown shopping with good restaurants, and also just be myself as a queer person without worries. That's why twice a year for the past 10 years, I've been visiting Michigan's Marquette County. This fall, join me and head up to the Fresh Coast. Visit travelmarquette.com to start your journey.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. I am John Parker. We here at the Gailey Show are continuing our coverage of the Minneapolis mayoral race by inviting candidates for mayor to join us on conversations specific to the LGBTQ community. Today, we are joined by Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis. Dr. Davis, thank you for sticking around with us for our final question for you today, which is what specific actions could you take and would you take as mayor to stand up to the Trump administration's anti-LGBTQ executive orders, which includes freezing federal funding to force our compliance on a variety of issues?
Well, this goes back to what I said about that Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which has under it the work with LGBTQ communities. And so I would, again, make sure that office has teeth and that those leaders are empowered not only to work, with the community, but also to provide real goals and plans for how the city enterprise could respond, what ways that we could be doing things differently, what alternatives could we appeal to. But that's also why I want to really deepen the relationship with the civil rights organizations here on the ground, whether it be out front, whether it be the Office of Trans Equity, all of these organizations where we're really working hand in glove, figuring out how to respond. By the way, the reason that's important too is because remember, for a very long time, the gay community had to create its own institutions and its own processes and its own planning to do that. We need to lean into that now. That's, again, one of the reasons I'm running for mayor too, is because when I started off my life in Washington, D.C. in the 90s, we were not that far from the years in Washington where you could be fired when they found out that you were gay. And we also were not, but we were still surrounded by some states like the state of Virginia that just even announcing that you were gay or someone seeing a picture of you at Pride could get you fired from your job. And so I remember how the community came together and the wisdom and the planning that they did to support communities. So that's what I want the city to lean into. And that's why I want that office to be fully empowered to make sure that we do that. That's why, again, it was so discouraging to me that for 2 years we did not have the Trans Equity Summit. And no matter what details they throw at you, it is because that office was not fully empowered to lead and to do the work that we had symbolically said we wanted from them. And so what I really would be doing is not only, like I said, not capitulating beforehand. Right now it's the time to begin to think about how we're going to backfill, to begin to think about how we're going to keep it steady, and to really bring in those organizations closer instead of trying to field it on our own or to act on behalf of somebody, as opposed to hearing directly from them what they need.
Dr. Davis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, I hope people will rank me. I just want to let people know I have the endorsements of the LGBTQ Victory Fund and endorsement from the Stonewall DFL because they recognize the work that I've done for our community. And by the way, wherever we go next, I'm still going to be in that work because my life depends on it, and so does yours.
For more information about Dr. Davis's candidacy, you can go to DeWayne4Minneapolis.com. Again, early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. You can also find information there to register to vote. Election day is November 4th, and I can put some editorial in there. We love ranked choice voting here at The Gailey Show. So you can rank up to 3 candidates, your preferred candidates in the city of Minneapolis. And I wish I had that state elections. But anyway, that's a different episode. Dr. Davis, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, John. You all have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, I'm going to bring in my executive producer here. Joining us has a story out of Oklahoma. So the recent superintendent from Oklahoma, he recently had to resign. He took a job with a private organization. If I remember correctly, that he was like looking at porn during a school board meeting. That was kind of interesting. Anyway, he's gone. And now, Jim, can you update us on the news story from the new superintendent in Oklahoma?
The new superintendent is called Lindell Fields, appointed by the governor, Governor Sitt. And he said in a statement that he has no plans to distribute Bibles or a biblical character education curriculum in classrooms, which, of course, the predecessor had done to much consternation and complaint. Correctly so. And he also said that the spending of public money on Bibles was probably not the best use of public funds, and that they intend to notify the agency of the court, of the agency's plan to not do any of this nonsense so that they can get a lawsuit dropped against them for being that dumb. So sounds like that particular chapter of stupidity has reached its inevitable conclusion and crashed to earth in flames. So do your religion in your churches and leave it out of schools.
Well, it was a very aggressive, that superintendent was very aggressive.
He was a raving lunatic that now works for some private company. I believe I would quit if you worked there.
I think now he's working for an organization. I don't think it's Turning Point, but it was a similar organization.
How could he ever get hired again? I don't know, but there you are.
We shall see. All right, we are coming up on the end of our broadcast today. We are going to be curating all of our conversations with the Minneapolis mayoral candidates who join us here on The Gailey Show. So if you go to our YouTube channel, there will be a playlist where you can look through all of them. We're going to have a couple more candidates coming up next Monday and Tuesday, so be sure to tune in live for those conversations. And thank you everyone for listening and or watching today on YouTube. Up next on WCPT 820 is Choose Views with Richard Chu. On AM 950 Radio, it is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, step into the unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. Again, check out our YouTube channel. We've got all sorts, hours and hours of progressive politics and analysis and author interviews and film reviews. YouTube.com/@TheGailey Show. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap